Why doesn't Rihanna experience the same level of criticisms about capitalism in the ways that Beyoncé does? The short answer for those who do not want to wait is Rihanna isn't on the Super Bowl stage dressing up in black revolutionary Black Panther aesthetic in the ways that Beyoncé has. Beyoncé has marketed herself and used specific imagery over the last couple of years to portray herself as something that she isn't. On the other hand, Rihanna isn't doing that and has never aligned with these specific things. That's the short answer, but I got time to break it down for those who do have time. Let's talk about it.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck on.
Crazy because Rihanna been dropping regularly and the capitalism tweets just never happened for her. Y'all know how to STFU and keep scrolling past some you have no intention on buying when it's Rihanna. Exercise that same energy for Beyoncé, I beg. Well, let's talk about that. So this conversation about the critiques from Beyoncé and Rihanna, both who have brands and have done endorsement deals with bigger brands and things, who are building brands around their likeness and keep growing their empires. Both of them are capitalists. But yes, I do agree that Rihanna does not experience the same levels of critiques that Beyoncé does. And there's a specific reason why. I've already told you all the short answer, but we got to talk about it because I want us to be honest. I really want us to be honest to what is going on, because if we're going to have this conversation, let's have it. Again, both of them are certified capitalists. Both of them have talked about being billionaires or quote unquote celebrated being billionaires or whatever. And, you know, both of them are in the same boat. But one has aligned themselves with certain imagery and certain aesthetics and stuff over the last couple of years and have leaned into a certain look that comes with a politic that is anti-capitalist and anti all of these things. Rihanna, on the other hand, has not done that. Rihanna is not putting those specific images in her music videos. Beyoncé has a whole music video of her drowning a police car. Now, I don't know how much political you can get more than that. She's also been on the Super Bowl stage and had her dancers while she was dancing in Black Panther revolutionary aesthetic. This has been a critique for years at this point. So the conversation about Beyoncé is critical because of what she has aligned herself with. So let's talk about it. In the last year, Beyoncé has finished up a very successful record-breaking tour. Usually after Beyoncé finishes a tour, she goes into silence. She's a very private person, but right after the tour, she did a partnership and a deal with AMC and allowed the documentary of the tour to be shown in the movie theaters. There was conversation about her dropping some new things. She started off with the fragrance that came out. Then she dropped a hair care product called Cecred. After that, she did a Verizon sponsorship for the Super Bowl. She did a Super Bowl ad for Verizon. After that, she did Cowboy Carter. After Cowboy Carter, there was a lot of merch being sold, shirts, sweatshirts, and all of the things that usually are sold around the tour. She did the same thing with Renaissance, but she was selling vinyls and all of that. And then she dropped Sir Davis, a whiskey brand. Even after that, she did a partnership with Levi Jeans. This is in the last year and a half. Now, some people will argue and say, what's wrong with that? Why are y'all mad at a black woman trying to make money and da 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 da? We haven't seen Beyoncé work like this before. Like, normally Beyoncé would drop an album or something and that's it. She goes into hiding, which goes into some of the other things I'm gonna talk about later when it comes to her being private versus Rihanna being very public. We have two different celebrities who move in different type of ways, which makes them more able to brand and market themselves. One has sold themselves of being very private, very exclusive, which allows them to sell documentaries, drop music out of nowhere, and the hype is just highly anticipated because we know her music to be done very well. We know she's taking her time. She's been able to use that as an advantage. On the other hand, we have someone like Rihanna who has used her influence on social media and her likeness to make people more interested in buying things. Rihanna has been doing that and has been very successful in the years of her doing it. We have grown with Rihanna. I know parasocial relationships, we can talk about that, and I already have, but Rihanna has been very public. We have seen her, share tweets and her thoughts about certain things. We know her favorite restaurant. We know Rihanna smells good. We also know Beyoncé smells good. We've seen Rihanna engage with fans. We've seen her talk to folks on the side of the streets and stuff. And that's why Rihanna is very successful in doing this. Like, we have to be completely honest. So now that we understand the dynamic between these two different artists and how they move, let's start and talk about Rihanna. Rihanna launched Fenty Beauty back in 2017. When Rihanna launched Fenty Beauty back in 2017, it was heavily built on inclusion. Point blank, period. Rihanna built Fenty Beauty on inclusion. It was a running thing that makeup brands were not featuring darker skinned women. A lot of our favorite beauty influencers, even a Jackie Aina, was talking about this for years, and here comes Fenty Beauty. Rihanna was offering a palette of darker tones for Black and brown women. And it's something that hasn't been done. Like, it was just something that wasn't being fulfilled. And she built it on inclusion, and it worked. It worked, and it was successful. And people raved about the products. And Rihanna doesn't stop there. She builds Savage Fenty, which is a lingerie brand that is inclusive as well. We've not seen a lingerie brand be inclusive of all sizes, of not just women, but also men too, and non-binary folks. So Rihanna was doing that, and she was making it look good. She had whole campaigns around it. She had these fashion shows on it. At the time, Victoria's Secret was getting backlash for it for years, having slim models and not being inclusive of people with different body styles and body types. Like, they just were not as inclusive. And here comes Rihanna again, filling a niche, not just offering something, but offering a specific thing. That's what made it successful. Now, we can have a conversation about this thin, light-skinned woman selling inclusivity when she is benefiting off of desire. We can talk about that, and that's a whole nother conversation. But Rihanna was filling a niche, and it was successful for her and allowed her to be able to build this brand and build more things. Rihanna had already been doing things like this for years, so it made a little bit of sense for her to have her own thing. And she's been able to do other stuff. They was eating her up for the wig stuff that she tried to do recently. The girls were not featuring it. But to say that Rihanna doesn't get the same level of backlash is missing context, because there's a running joke about Rihanna being the Avon lady.
Still creating a little bit of space in the corner.
Like, pushing products and stuff and selling everything, but not dropping any music. Like, Rihanna hasn't dropped a studio album in years. Like, she hasn't done it in years. Rihanna even knows about the jokes about her not dropping an album when folks are asking her in interviews. She's responded to fans in her DMs on Instagram, and even responded to fans on Twitter. She interacts with her audience. Rihanna tweets sometimes. She used to tweet a lot, used to get in trouble for tweeting. She is a very public, celebrity. Like, she shares a lot. On the other hand, Beyoncé doesn't. Beyoncé doesn't tweet. She doesn't offer opinions on things. When she posts stuff, she just posts up and go. Like, she does that. And it's worked in Beyonce's favor. So let's talk about it. Beyoncé, a very private celebrity. She has taken years off, and she'll post a picture here and there. She just drops music out of nowhere, like the running joke, I Stopped the World. Like, when she dropped Self-Titled back in 2013, out of nowhere, like, she stopped the world. Like, this album came out of nowhere and people were loving it. She then followed that up with Lemonade, 2 back-to-back successful albums, and even did a a visual album for Lemonade. Like, we know Beyonce music is going to be good, period. We know it's going to be production heavy, all of the things, like it's going to be perfected. We know that about Beyonce, which is why we will spend money to see her in concert. Remember the joke about Beyonce savings account of us having money, well, fans having money put to the side because she might pop out of nowhere and say, hey, I'm going on tour, like new music, that, and you need to be ready. We're not seeing that conversation anymore because a lot of us are struggling. Like, a lot of us are struggling. The Beyonce savings account is now Afterpay, Affirm, and Klarna. Let's be honest. Like, a lot of us don't have the funds to do these things anymore like we used to. Like, every artist currently is on tour right now. All of them are on tour right now because they need some money. The pandemic, it got the girls together. They were not out here able to make any money. So now they're trying to recoup their losses. The same way these companies are doing it as well with shrinkflation and stuff, because we were not spending money during the pandemic. We were saving our coins up. We had a lot of extra money because we were not outside. We weren't doing the same amount of things that we usually do, which had extra money in our accounts. With that being said, Beyonce's brand is music. We want to experience a Beyonce. We want to experience her if it's a documentary, if it's watching the visuals, if it's the concert. We want to have the Beyonce experience. Matter of fact, like, it's a tour called the Beyonce Experience, period. Like, I think it is, like the Beyonce Experience or something. Maybe I'm making that up, but because Beyonce is a performer, like, that is her thing. So she has benefited from that, and that's something that her fans want. We know Beyonce smells good. We know she dresses, good sometimes, but she's not a fashion girl. Like, let's be honest. Rihanna is a fashion girl, which also allows her to do other things. Not only does Rihanna share pictures, remember the famous picture of her tattoo, period. She's also outside to the point that paparazzi take pictures of her and we see her in these specific clothes and stuff. Even when it comes to the Met Gala, Rihanna is the most anticipated celebrity to show up. We want to know what she's wearing. She is a fashion girl. Beyonce, being a very private person, she might come, she may not come. The running joke about Beyonce is, does Beyonce know she's gonna be there? Like, does Beyonce know she's been invited or she's showing up? Like, we know that because Beyonce doesn't go outside like that. Even with the campaign rally in Houston with Harris this past Friday, we weren't sure if Beyonce was coming out because we have heard that before, and it's like, she may show up, she may not. She did show up, but we don't expect her to because she doesn't be outside like that. So when it comes to Beyonce being very private and stuff, and now she's very public, and the only time she is public is when she's pushing product, it just comes off as inauthentic. And we have to be honest about that. If every time you're posting a picture to sell us a product and stuff, it comes off like, hey girl, like, what's going on? And to push these many products in a year and a half isn't building a brand. People are trying to argue that she is building a brand. Beyonce's brand is already built. She should be building around it. Like, she's been building her brand for years, which is why jokes about her not showing up to these things, being very private, dropping an album out of anywhere, that is her brand. That is her likeness. That's what we associate with. Like, she's going to come out, and when she does, it's going to be period. That's what it is. That's what it is. Rihanna, her brand is not that. Like, no shade to Rihanna, but people are not necessarily trying to experience Rihanna. They're trying to be Rihanna. Like, we want to be her. She is the it girl. She is the fashion girl. She's the girl we're seeing. We want to wear what she is wearing. When I say we, I'm talking about the general public, because I ain't bought any Rihanna things, period. Like, doesn't mean I don't like whatever, but it's just, I don't buy into celebrity stuff like that. Y'all know how I feel. So when Beyonce is doing these things, it's not natural for her because we've never seen her do it. And it starts to become a cash grab. You did Cecred. You talked about this hair product. You pushed that. And now you're selling a candle around this same brand. And it's like, okay, you just dropped a fragrance last year. It wasn't really received well. You're dropping a new one. Rihanna did one a couple years ago and she has not released another one yet. So it's like, we want to smell like a Rihanna. I have smelled Beyonce, to be honest, and she smells amazing. When I went to her tour last year, Renaissance tour, for my birthday, she smelled amazing. When she was on the piano and they was having the fans, she smelled amazing. We know she smells good, but we don't know what she smells like. Like, we hear people talk about Rihanna because she be outside like that. Beyonce doesn't. She's very close knit. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you start trying to sell yourself and your likeness, it's like you have to find out what works for you. Beyonce has not had the best history with marketing things like this. Let's be honest. Ivy Park was not that successful. It did good the first year, but it wasn't. It did not work because Beyonce isn't accessible to the people she's trying to sell things to. There's a lot of other things that can be talked about with Ivy Park and fashion and how a lot of the stuff that she was selling wasn't something you can wear every day, but people were out here buying it or whatever. But we also have Beyonce in the House of Darion thing. Remember that? The House of Darion jeans? Like, also now think about that. What is up with Beyonce naming stuff around her family? I think she's been doing it for the longest. But the House of Darion, where is that at now? Like, she's done things in the past, but it doesn't work for her. Like, even Beyonce has a weakness. And we're finding that the weakness is actually her strength. So with her pushing these products and things rapid like that, it's giving inauthentic. And remembering what Beyonce said in her documentary, one of my favorite documentaries, Life is But a Dream. She shared that artists don't make albums anymore. They put out singles and they put out albums, they burn out.
People don't make albums anymore. They don't make albums. They just try to sell a bunch of little quick singles and they burn out and they put out a new one and they burn out and they put out a new one.
This is what we're seeing with this push for all of these things that you are selling. You're pushing them out rapidly. You're not investing time in them to sell them and market them properly. They're not given time to marinate. You have 4 things going out at the same time. And people are coming up with all type of arguments to support why she is pushing all of these things out. And again, we need to be honest. There is no need for Beyonce to be dropping these many things this soon. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense for someone who has called themselves a billionaire on the elevator. It doesn't make sense for somebody who has the resources that Beyonce has. Like, what is going on? Which is why I've done videos talking about, is Beyonce broke or is she greedy? And to me, it's giving a little bit of both. It's giving a little bit of both because capitalism doesn't allow us to be okay with just, you know, where we are at. Like, there is no ceiling. Capitalism makes us want to overconsume things. Consumption, consumption, consumption. This is why they wanted to open the world back up during the pandemic, because we were not consuming things. We're constantly being pushed more things that we do not need to purchase. Like, there's a trend going on now about like decluttering or de-hauling or something, because we have always been purchasing stuff that we don't need, like buying iPhones and stuff every year, buying new cars every 2 or 3 years, like the latest model this coming out, like a lot of stuff. Like, even the new iPhone is not selling well because people do not have the money, and there's not been that much improvement on the phones to warrant spending another $1,000 on a phone. Like, we're not buying these things like that because we ain't got the money. And it's just like, girl, we're tired of buying stuff every year. But one of the things that to me sticks out is her alignment with Black Panther aesthetic and revolutionary looks and things. Like, that is the issue that is jumping out to me, because you have aligned yourself with these things and you've used them for aesthetic and like quote unquote costumes. Your fans were online campaigning for you not to showcase your documentary in Israel, and you still did it. And the reasons why folks are asking a specific Beyonce to do that is because you are on songs saying, I am Malcolm X. Like, you and your husband who was working with Judas and the Black Messiah, a film about the betrayal of Fred Hampton, who was anti-capitalist. Like, you and your husband have adapted this aesthetic and this look, and y'all been associated with these things for looks, but y'all haven't followed with the politic to the point that your husband is upset about folks calling him a capitalist and saying that's a slur. This is the reason why Beyonce is getting more critique. The biggest reason isn't just because folks do not like Beyonce. Yes, there are some people who do not like Beyonce. And shout out to one of these folks who tweeted and said that I do not like Beyonce. No shade, I literally spent a nice check to see her front row last year for my birthday. Like, I am a fan, but I'm also a person who is aware of things and not sticking my head in the sand. I'm not pretending as if these things don't exist. My videos and my tweets are not going to stop Beyonce from being a capitalist. They're not going to stop her from saying billionaire. I will hope that she listens and tries to do better, as any of these celebrities should be doing, to be honest. But to say that we are being critical as if we are in community with Beyonce and we can stop her, y'all are no different than the people who are saying cancel culture exists. We are the people purchasing these things. If anything, I'm talking to the folks who are overly consuming these things because of their parasocial relationships with these celebrities. They're buying things not because they need them, but because psychologically they feel like they have to. To be honest, y'all are no different than the Barbs, to be honest. Y'all feel the need to support just because. In the same ways that we drag the Barbs for, you know, buying up all of Nicki Minaj's music and stuff to make her whatever, the same way we're out here buying things to make this person even more rich. It's like, do we actually need these things? Do we actually need these things? There's been so many studies about how our brains respond to certain things when it comes to brands. Like, you can have both of the same type of products in your face, and because of brand association, you think this one tastes better. Like, that's what it is. Like, we have to be honest, and these celebrities are not chemists. They're not in the lab mixing and coming up. They're not doing sugar, spice, and everything nice. They're not making the Powerpuff Girls. They don't own any of these factories. They don't own any means of production. They own their name and their likeness. And that's how they're able to market it, even if it's not successful. And also, I will be remiss if I do not bring this up, but for them to associate with these things and use this imagery and all of these things, y'all have reneged on a couple of things. Y'all said y'all did not need the Super Bowl. Now we see y'all every Super Bowl year. Rock Nation now has a partnership with the NFL. Y'all were out here clapping and big upping Colin Kaepernick, and look what's going on now. Like, you know, look what's going on. Showing up to a campaign rally to speak as a mother for a presidential nominee that is not interested in stop funding what is going on in the Middle East. Like, you cannot be apolitical when you want to be. You cannot be apolitical and then use political messaging in your music. People have clapped Beyonce and bigged up her for putting specific things in her music meaning things. A story of the times. It's now looking as if these things are not real. And that's the realization that a lot of folks are struggling with right now. Like, wow, like, you know, it does look like that. Because a year ago when I was talking about these things, folks were saying, oh, you're a hater, you don't get it, da da da. It's just like, it's evident that there's something going on, because we've not seen her push these many things in a short amount of time. So what now? What's going on? So yes, Rihanna does not experience the same level about capitalism when it comes to her pushing out products and stuff in the same ways that Beyonce does. And that's because Beyonce has put herself in a situation to receive this type of criticism. We don't see Rihanna putting specific messaging about these political things in her music. We don't see her doing that. Rihanna has gotten ate up a couple of times. She got ate up for giving an award to Sean King a couple of years ago. Rihanna was getting ate up for her Savage Fenty stuff and how predatory it was to have to sign up and purchase things, even to the lingerie being made in sweatshops. Like, Rihanna has gotten criticism as well. She has. The reasons why you all don't see the criticisms is because y'all are only following folks who y'all want to smash. And when I say this, I'm speaking to a specific audience, because y'all only follow folks who y'all desire, And the folks who y'all following for this are not giving any type of political conversations or anything of substance per se. A lot of them are just selling desire. And y'all then listen to them when they're saying stupid stuff that aligns with what you believe. I have went through a lot of y'all like following lists and look at the people that y'all engage with. Y'all only following people who y'all are attracted to. That's why y'all don't know much. It's no shade. When I say this, I'm speaking to a specific audience. This ain't for everybody, but I'm speaking to a specific audience when I say this. And in the words of the King of Reeds, if these bullets hit you, let them touch and agree. A lot of y'all only follow a specific type of person on social media. And we want to say that social media is not a real place, but it's also showing us of the people you surround yourself with. Like, not only are these people the ones that y'all are following on social media, y'all also surround yourselves by folks who just look good. They don't have a specific politic that challenges you or, you know, makes you think. Y'all follow them purely based off of desire. And you wonder why you don't see conversations to shift your level of thinking. How can we educate, inform you on things when you don't see us? If you don't see me, how can I show you anything? How can I teach you anything? How can I do that? Explain that to me. I want people to think about that, because desire shows up even in this conversation, because people have been very critical of Rihanna in the past. Even with one of the women who were talking about Beyonce showing up to the campaign rally, folks were calling her nappy head and making comments about this woman's hair texture. The fact that people are responding to the conversation about this with anti-blackness, they did the same thing when it came to Cecred being launched. I'm starting to notice a pattern. And the pattern is y'all connection and need for celebrity validation. And it's messing y'all up. That's all I got. Tell me what you think in the comments. Be respectful, because if you don't, I will. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.